archived for future viewing. Could all participants please mute themselves when not speaking in order to avoid any background noise or feedback when other participants are speaking? If a participant wishes to speak, can they please put their hand up virtually or in real life? Please ensure that all debate is raised verbally and not via the chat function for the sake of the recording. The chat function may be used to highlight any technical issues and or to grab the attention of the chair or Democratic Services Officer. If any participant...
Sorry, Chair. Would you mind just pausing for one moment?
No problem.
There we go, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. I'll just pick up where I left off.
Thank you.
Thanks. And finally, if any participant has difficulty hearing or being heard when they are addressing the committee, let the chair or Democratic Officer know. If you have a webcam, then try turning this off, as it will help with broadband or Wi-Fi bandwidth, so you can at least be heard. Okay, I hope everyone had a nice summer recess, and I was excited as I am for the return of the Learning and Cultural
Sorry,
Scrutiny.
Chair, bear with me one moment.
Okay.
Hello, Liz. I know you're on Democratic stream for me this evening. I think we're hearing the YouTube recording. Could you please make sure that the YouTube channel is on mute, please? Just bear with us one moment, Chair.
No problem.
Okay, Chair, I think we're okay to continue. I do apologise for this.
No worries. Hopefully everything's okay, and I hope everyone had a good summer recess, and it's good to see everyone here today. So we'll kick off with any apologies for absence, Amy?
Yes, Chair. Apologies this evening. Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. It's coming through again. Bear with me one second.
I can hear you okay, Amy. I don't know about everyone else.
Sorry, Chair. Give me one moment. Just to clarify, Chair, are you hearing the recording playing back to you as well as myself or not?
No, just hearing you, Amy.
Okay. If you'd like to carry on then, Chair, because I do think it's probably my end.
Okay.
So if we carry on, we should be okay.
Lovely. So yeah, just starting with any apologies for absence then.
Yes, Chair. So can you still hear me, Chair?
Yeah.
Yep. So just to confirm for you that the apologies we've received are Councillor Godfrey and Councillor Gilligan from the committee, and also co-opted member Rebecca Mateo, your Church in Wales co-opted member.
Thank you. I haven't received any other apologies, so unless anyone else on the call has, then we'll move on to item 2. So the minutes of the meeting held on 7th of July, 2022. Feels like a long time ago now. I hope everyone's satisfied them. If I can get a seconder to move to approve the minutes.
I'll second to approve.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Moving on to agenda item 3. Any declarations of interest, Amy? I suppose I'll take that as a no, which is probably a good sign. So we'll move on to agenda item 4 swiftly then. So the Vaon Council annual performance calendar, which has come from Cabinet. I think it's Tom Bowring's going to take us through that. So over to you, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. Good evening, and I hope you had a good summer recess as well. It does seem a long time ago now that the weather's most definitely autumnal today. So this is, as you say, a reference from Cabinet in July. We're taking this reference to all scrutiny committees as well as the Governance and Audit Committee. And as you say, it outlines the annual performance calendar for the current year. And that calendar outlines the key plans and reports that will be subject to consideration by members throughout the year. The report also, I think importantly, outlines the way that we're planning to engage with the new cohort of elected members in order to get your views and input into how we shape the processes, key plans and reports aligned with the annual report, annual performance calendar. As committee will be aware, the Local Government and Elections Act introduced a series of new duties around performance of local authorities. They're contained within Part 6 of the legislation, and the report sets out some detail about how we have a duty to keep our performance under review, to complete a self-assessment process annually, alongside a once in each electoral cycle peer review. So the report sets out the process for the production of that self-assessment report. That will be coming to your committee chair next month as part of the process for consultation which Cabinet launched this afternoon. The timeline for producing that is set out in the report, and that will culminate in the consideration by all elected members at a full council meeting in November. What I wanted to draw your attention to, Chair and committee, is Appendix A, and that sets out the performance calendar. It shows the range of different reports and how they, in effect, fit together over the year. And there are some highlighted in a light blue colour, opportunities for elected members to get involved in an out of committee setting. So you'll remember, Chair, that we ran a session on self-assessment prior to the recess. We'll be running one on how we report our corporate performance against the annual delivery plan later on this month. So it's bringing through information and any views of the committee as part of the reference from Cabinet. Any views would go back to Cabinet, and if not, we would just make progress through the calendar.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Do any members have any questions for Tom? Can't see any hands at the moment, Tom, but I'll just ask you something about it. Are you satisfied with the assessment process and sort of holding each other accountable? Is there anything you'd like to do to improve that, or are you happy with how it is?
This is the first annual self-assessment report that we have produced under the new legislation, Chair, and I think an element of that is definitely in reflection and learning after the process. I think it's been a worthwhile approach to producing self-assessments in each of the council's 5 directorates. I found the process of challenge by another of my director colleagues to be a worthwhile stage in that process, and as well as including elected members in that process prior to its production. So I think that's been useful. One of the things that I'm keen to do is hold a debrief after we produce the first self-assessment. We've also been working with colleagues from the other 21 local authorities and the WLGA in understanding how other people have gone about producing the self-assessment self-assessment. So I think when we get to the autumn and winter and all 22 have been produced, it'll be a really good opportunity to reflect then, and also to take the views of elected members into that process so that we can strengthen things year on year.
Brilliant. Thank you, Tom. So just to check if anyone has any questions, we'll move on, Tom. But yes, kind of a seconder, so we note the annual performance calendar. Have a seconder to do that.
Sorry, Chair, I
Helen.
just wanted to make a comment.
Sorry. Yeah, Helen. Is
Yeah,
that Helen, I think? Yeah.
it is. My
Go on,
camera will
Councillor
work.
Payne.
Yeah, it's on, it's on, it's on. So thank you, Tom, for this. Thank you, Chair, for letting me speak on this. I think it's really interesting. I'm interested in all the light blue bits, Tom. So if there be an opportunity for members of the Scrutiny Committee to have a look at the self-assessment process, that would be fantastic. I don't know if there will be, or we could arrange something.
Absolutely. We held a session, an open session just before the recess to talk about how we went about producing that one. We'll certainly look to replicate that.
Yeah, I'd be really interested.
Next year, if that's useful. Yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you, and well done as well, because I've been involved in self-assessment myself, and it is quite tricky, and it is kind of a really reflective process as well, you know, across the board really. So it is interesting, and a big learning curve as well. So thanks.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Payne. Anyone else, any thoughts or comments or questions? In which case, just want to be sure. In which case, if I could have a seconder, and we can note the performance calendar and move on to the
I'm happy
agenda.
to second it.
Thank you. Thanks, Councillor. So I think it's Tom again for agenda item 5. So we'll keep you on the screen for the Welsh Language Standards Annual Monitoring Report, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Chair. So this is the second reference from Cabinet on your agenda this evening. And this report brought to the attention of Cabinet the progress that had been made against the Welsh language standards. That's Appendix 1 to the report. And also then Appendix 2 is the progress against the Council's promotion strategy for the Vale of Glamorgan. The Welsh language standards that were introduced through a compliance notice being issued to the Council requires us to bring a report to Cabinet once every year showing the progress that has been made against delivering against those standards. So you'll see in Appendix 1 exactly what progress has been made in that regard. And that report sets out the achievements across a range of areas, including communications training, support for learners, translation arrangements, and the linguistic skills of staff, for example. And then within an appendix to that report, there's also some line-by-line updates against each of the standards in terms of the way the Council has gone about implementing them, and also some qualitative data around some key metrics associated with the standards, for example, around skills, the number of complaints, etc. The Welsh language standards require the Council to also publish a promotion strategy for the Welsh language, and Appendix B shows an update for the committee against the promotion strategy for the year 2021-22. Committee will note that we've got a new promotion strategy that has started this year and runs from 22 to 27. So this report relates to the fifth year of the previous 5-year promotion strategy. And some of the feedback from the committees prior to or during the consultation process was that it would be useful to reflect in the progress reports on the promotion strategy in coming years a bit more lived experience through case studies, etc. So we'll certainly be looking to reflect that now when I bring the report to you next year. So this report, as I say, backward looking, an update against the standards and against the previous promotion strategy for committee's consideration.
Thank you, Tom. So any members want to ask Tom or make a comment? I can. Oh, there we go. Councillor Birch.
Thank you. Well, having presented a report on this to Cabinet this afternoon, I'd like to congratulate the staff on this. I recently met the member of staff who's responsible for Work Welsh and was really gratified to see all of the things that are being put into place to enable staff to learn Welsh during the working day, and how we're making allowances for them to step out of their working environment and take extra lessons in order to improve their standard of Welsh. And I think it's very gratifying that we were able to produce a report for the Welsh Assembly that they approved of, and that even the comments they made on how we could improve things were able to be done with such facility. So I'd like to congratulate the team on that.
Thanks, Councillor Birch. We've got a couple of hands now. Councillor Hodges, I saw you first, so take it away.
Thank you, Chairman. It's just a quick point, really. In the actual report itself, it actually has under financial, no direct financial implications. I'm just wondering what that actually means, because there's a lot of potential actions coming up in this report over the next number of years, and I'm just wondering if we actually do need a budget for this, and what that would mean.
Certainly, thank you, Councillor Hodges. The reference to no specific financial implications as a result of this report is very much that in bringing this report to Cabinet and then to the committees was it doesn't have any separate implications financially. You're absolutely right in terms of the council does have a budget for a variety of different activities that support the promotion strategy. For example, we have a 3-year agreement with Menter Brum Organog, but they're a vital partner in delivering our promotion strategy, and we work very closely with them to look at how that service level agreement is managed. And also my colleagues in Learning and Skills have got a range of different opportunities, for example, for people to learn Welsh and to access Welsh language skills. We provide funding for our staff and to elected members as well in supporting them to learn Welsh as well. So there are a series of budgets and investments that the council makes, but it's just purely that this report in isolation doesn't have any implications financially.
Thanks both. Councillor Goodjohn.
I'd like to say thank you. I think the report went into great detail. I enjoyed reading it. I am also taking up the Welsh lessons, and I did the taster course, and that's brilliant, and it's a wonderful opportunity, so thank you.
Well done, Diane, Councillor Goodjohn, for taking up that opportunity. It's a great thing. Just got a question myself, Tom, about so there were 21 vacancies that are identified as Welsh language skills needing to be learned when the person is appointed to the post after the job interview. I was just wondering if this is monitored at all, or sort of is there a minimum standard that you require these new employees to have, and are those monitored, or is it just sort of they learn at their own pace sort of thing?
It's very much a case generically of learn at individual pace, but where there are specific requirements around Welsh language, we would obviously look to monitor that more closely, Chair.
Thanks, Tom. Is there anyone else who'd like to ask Tom a question? I think it's your last one, this one, Tom, so you've got 2 out of the way early, I think. So unless anyone else wants to ask, if I could have a seconder to note the report.
I'll second.
Thanks, Councillor. So thank you, Tom, for taking us through those. Always
thanks very much.
Appreciated. So next, moving on to a report of the Director of Learning and Skills. So Paula, hello, Paula. It's the annual delivery plan monitoring report, Q1 performance. So over to you.
Hello, Chair. Yes, so as you said, this is the Q1 performance report on the annual delivery plan. The report actually contains performance commentary across all of the 4 corporate plan objectives, but it does focus in on the presentation, which starts on page 75 of 269, and so it focuses in on the actual remit of this scrutiny committee. So I'll focus on that part. So on page 77, which is the 3rd slide, it shows some of the achievements from the first quarter. And just to touch on those briefly, it refers to the consultation on the draft childcare sufficiency assessment, active school travel arrangements, work carried out to implement free school meals for reception year 1 and year 2 from September. Work on the youth homelessness project, and events and activities run via our libraries to promote well-being. And then in terms of school, we actually put in place our new school and community counselling service during quarter 1, and we extended our therapeutic services for schools. And also 5 Barry schools were involved in a pilot which was funded by Welsh Government to extend the school day. And that resulted in additional learning and wellbeing opportunities being offered to hundreds of pupils across those schools, which were schools in the Pencoitra cluster in Barry. So that was very successful. And then we progressed our Salix schemes across our schools, with LED lighting in particular being progressed, and the plan there is to install that across all of our schools, as well as the procurement of solar PV schemes. So moving on then to page 78, there were some exceptions. So there were 2 of the 70 actions were RAG rated red, and 3 of the 5 measures. Now, of the measures, 2 of those related to our Inspire to Achieve and Inspire to Work schemes, which are ESF funded. So those schemes are actually being wound down now, and they're coming to an end. But the performance there was well within the funding tolerance levels, so not really anything to be concerned about. And the 3rd one there was in relation to library visits. So library visits are up, but they're not meeting our ambitious targets yet, although we anticipate that we'll see an improvement over the 2nd quarter there. And then there were 2 actions. One of those was supporting the delivery of the Council's 5-year Welsh language promotion strategy, and the other was maximising opportunities to signpost citizens to cultural and arts activities. And an explanation is provided in the report. In fact, if you click on the link there in the presentation, the blue link, it'll take you straight through to that part. And so then page 79 sets out our focus for the remainder of the year and beyond. So focusing on our engagement with children and parents in relation to specialist placements in particular, and working with partners in that respect. Continuing to develop our provision of ALN services to Welsh language schools. It's not that then they have not got access to services, but this is about provision of those services through the medium of Welsh. And we do need to develop that. So we're looking at doing that using a regional approach. Supporting the childcare sector, experiencing, as many of you will know, some particularly difficult times in relation to recruitment. Meeting our demand for those pupils with social and emotional and mental health needs, which is particularly acute now coming out of the pandemic, and also working with pupils, schools, pupils and parents on the attendance of pupils. And, you know, there are some pupils that still have not returned to school, and others that are not attending as frequently as is required. And also, as mentioned, continuing our carbon reduction measures across our school estates. So that's some of our focus for the coming year. By all means, you know, it doesn't cover everything, but I think those are the main areas. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks for that, Paula. So I'll open up the floor to members if any of them have a question for Paula. Yeah, Councillor Marshalsea.
Hi, Paula. Sorry to bother you. I've just thinking about the library. Now, I was a parent who used to regularly go to Ryman Sign and those sorts of things. And I know at the moment they still have to be booked and they have a much more limited number. Will that be continuing? I was just thinking about trying to increase people going to the library, etc.
I don't know, and I wasn't aware, I'm afraid. But we can look into that and we can get back to you and let you know.
No problem. I've literally had loads of people chatting to me about it. It just happened to over the last few days, and it just when I read the report that I was thinking about that. The library scheme, the challenge over the summer, I know has gone down very well with lots of people I know. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the summer reading challenge you're referring to is always hugely popular, and it always goes very well. So that's really pleasing to hear. Yeah, I was unaware that the Ryman Sign sessions were still restricted in terms of number, and I would guess there's no need to be doing that now. So I will get someone to come back to you on that.
Yeah, I think also, I guess if they're bookable, I think some people are probably booking and they're not turning up, which then means that, you know, I've been in the library a few times. There's only a couple of kids at it, you know, just happens to be over the same time over the summer. But no, my son did the reading challenge and it got him reading loads of chapter books. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Payne next.
Hiya, Paula.
Hello.
Just interested in the mental health aspect that you just raised in terms of integrating those who have suffered as a result of the pandemic or possibly were suffering already. So what kind of provision are you're anticipating that will capture their needs? Because I know that there were the 5 hours that were given to those who are out of school in terms of out of school hours education. But I think possibly this would be something that would require a more specialist approach. So
yeah, but it will depend upon the actual needs and what we do. I can see Morwen's come on because this falls under Morwen's remit, and we have a social, emotional and mental health panel that we have in place, which consists of a number of officers as well as partners and schools involved in that, which assess each case individually and as a result identify the type of support or placement or whatever it is that they need. But I'll hand over to Morwen, who can give a far more comprehensive response.
Thanks. Paula. Councillor Payne, I think you're probably referring to OOST, or the out of school tuition, when you say about the 5 hours a week. Yeah, that is still in place, most definitely. And there is a process of referral, and that comes through our inclusion team, under which sits attendance, exclusions, and those sorts of aspects. That is definitely still there, and it is used widely. And in fact, our budget has been exceeded over recent times because of the demand. Yeah, in addition to the OOST, what we also created during the pandemic and in response to need was what we called our attainment and wellbeing and engagement team. And that was a group of officers, teachers and LSAs who also provided that wellbeing support individually for young people, often in their homes or in other places where they felt comfortable, because a lot of these young people, school is the last place they actually want to be.
Exactly.
And that's what they struggle with. So we're doing everything we can to reach out and provide that support elsewhere. We've now secured space at the YMCA in Barry. So that is also now being used to provide additional support. And we've moved on from the attainment, wellbeing and engagement team and now created this year, which is referenced in the report Paula referred to, liaison engagement and attendance officers. And it is about attendance as well. So that is where that drive is, to try now and get those young people back into school who haven't been in school. And they will be based at the secondary schools, working predominantly with young people in years 7 to 9. They'll work very closely with our inclusion officers, who you would traditionally have known as the EWOs, the Education Welfare Officers, but under our restructure, we rebranded that and changed it to make it more fit for purpose. So we are developing and we are responding to need as quickly as we possibly can, and trying to be a step ahead where possible. For more difficult cases where young people have been out of school for a very long time, we developed last September for the first time what is now called Horizon. It was a small pilot group sitting within Ysgolor, and it was a pilot for 8 young people who had been out of school for a significant period of time. And they were all young people in years 10 and 11, and were therefore at risk of not receiving qualifications as well. And these young people, it certainly wasn't for the want of wanting to learn and wanting to be educated, they just couldn't attend school. So it was set up as a pilot, and at the time we really didn't know if they would attend, but it has been phenomenally successful. And we were delighted. I can see Paul is smiling as well. We're delighted when the head of Ysgolor sent us the GCSE results through.
Hello, I'm so sorry. I'm terribly sorry to interrupt, Moen. We've just received news that the Queen has passed away.
Oh.
So out of respect, we are going to now adjourn this meeting this evening, and we will reconvene at a later date that I will confirm by myself. Are you happy with that, Chair?
Yes, thanks for letting me know, Amy, and we'll adjourn for now.
Okay, thank you all for your time this evening, and I'll be in touch when we can reconvene. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.